Cadet Zara K'vex stood in the gleaming hallway of Nexus 7's Galactic Federation Academy, watching as yet another group of alien cadets practically tripped over their various appendages trying to get away from her. The sight would have been hilarious if it wasn't so pathetically routine. "Oh look, there they go again," she muttered, leaning against the polished durasteel wall. Breaking the galactic speed record for fastest retreat from a 5'4" human female, someone should alert the records committee. The artificial gravity on Nexus 7 was set to a comfortable 0.7 standard Earth gravity's comfortable, that is, if you weren't born and raised on New Sparta, where 1.8 Gs was considered a light workout day. Zara felt like she could practically float down these hallways, though she restrained herself from demonstrating this ability. No need to terrify the locals more than her mere existence already did. "You really should stop enjoying their terror," quite so much came a burbling voice from somewhere around her knee level. "It's unseemly for a senior cadet." Zara looked down at the amorphous purple blob that was her best and only friend at the academy. "Squish Vorp, my gelatinous voice of reason, when did you become my conscience?" "Approximately 3 standard cycles ago, when you decided to demonstrate proper Earth push-ups and physical training." Squish Vorp rippled in what Zara had learned to interpret as their version of a shudder. "The sight of you doing 300 of them while carrying on a casual conversation about breakfast traumatized half the class." "That was hardly my fault. The instructor asked for a demonstration of typical human exercise routines." Zara grinned, showing teeth that, while perfectly normal by human standards, apparently resembled the nightmarish maws of apex predators to most galactic species. "Besides, I was being nice. I didn't even mention CrossFit." Squish Vorp extended a pseudopod to poke her shin reproachfully. "And let's not forget last week's incident in the cafeteria." "Hey, how was I supposed to know that casually mentioning humans can digest capsaicin would cause a diplomatic crisis? The Xy'klar ambassador's nephew just happened to be there. Not my fault he fainted." "You were eating raw jalapenos like candy while making direct eye contact with him." "I was asserting dominance." Zara deadpanned, then burst out laughing at Squish Vorp's ripple of exasperation. The blob's ability to appreciate her sense of humor was probably the main reason they'd become friends in the first place. And the fact that Squish Vorp was physically incapable of running away from her, which had given them enough time to actually get to know each other. "Come on," she said, straightening up. "We've got maintenance duty in Section Delta. Try not to get stuck in any vents this time." "That was one time," Squish Vorp burbled indignantly, following her down the corridor. "And need I remind you who had to help you reach that high shelf last week? Touche, my stretchy friend. Touche." Section Delta's maintenance corridor was exactly as exciting as its designation suggested, which was to say, about as thrilling as watching paint dry in 0.7 Gs. Zara methodically worked her way through the routine diagnostics while Squish Vorp handled the lower vents, their purple mass occasionally emitting small burps of satisfaction when dislodging particularly stubborn dust bunnies. Whoever designed these maintenance protocols clearly never had to actually perform them, Zara grumbled, reaching for another sensor panel. "I mean, who puts atmospheric regulators behind blast doors? That's just asking for." The panel beneath her fingers suddenly sparked, and the entire corridor went dark. "Oh, fantastic." Zara's voice dripped with sarcasm. "Squish, you okay down there?" "Define okay," came the muffled reply. "I may have panic-absorbed several cleaning drones." Before Zara could respond, a soft blue glow began emanating from behind one of the supposedly sealed artifact storage rooms. The blast door, its security systems apparently fried by the power surge, slowly creaked open. "We should probably report this," Squish Vorp suggested nervously. "Absolutely," Zara agreed, already walking toward the door. "Right after we make sure nothing dangerous got activated." "That is not what why do I bother?" The storage room was packed with artifacts that would have made any xenoarchaeologist weep with joy if they weren't all labeled classified and extremely dangerous. Do not touch in about 15 different languages. The blue glow was coming from what appeared to be a simple metal rod floating in a stasis field. Zara said, approaching the display. "Doesn't look that dangerous." "That's what they all say right before the fun begins," a voice echoed inside her head, causing her to jump backward. "Oh, don't be such a squishy. Come closer, interesting one. You smell like death and violence. I like it." Zara Squish Vorp had somehow managed to squeeze through the door. "Why are you staring at that thing like it's talking to you?" "Because it is talking to me. And it's kind of a jerk about it." "I prefer the term discerning conversationalist," the voice countered. Now, are you going to stand there all day, or are you going to claim your destiny? I've been waiting 12,000 years for someone with the right genetic markers to walk by, and quite frankly, the stasis field is getting boring. Against every rational thought in her head, Zara reached for the rod. The moment her fingers touched it, the metal seemed to liquefy, flowing up her arm like quicksilver. Zara Squishvorp's entire mass went pale lavender with panic. "It's fine," she assured them, even as the metal continued to spread. "It doesn't hurt, it's just integrating." Obviously, the voice said. "I'm not some primitive stick of metal. I'm the last and greatest creation of the Xy'klar Empire. And you, my delightfully violence-capable friend, are compatible. Do you have any idea how rare that is? The odds are astronomical. This calls for celebration. Let's blow something up." "Let's not," Zara said firmly, watching as the last of the metal settled into intricate patterns just under her skin. "How about you start with your name? You can call me Snark. All my friends did, before they were tragically disintegrated in that unfortunate apocalyptic war. Now then, shall we discuss your combat training? Because, honey, we have got to work on your stance." Squishvorp, having witnessed this entire one-sided conversation, did the only sensible thing. They fainted, their mass spreading into a perfect circle on the floor. "Great," Zara muttered. "How am I going to explain this on the maintenance report?" The Academy's medical bay looked like someone had dropped a bureaucratic bomb in the middle of it. 3 different species of doctors were frantically waving various scanning devices at Zara's arms, while a panel of senior officials argued in increasingly high-pitched tones. In one corner, a Vraxian historian was having what appeared to be a religious experience. "This is unprecedented," shouted Chief Administrator Xy'klar, all 7 of his eye stalks vibrating with distress. "Completely unprecedented." Actually, Snark commented in Zara's head, "This happened 6 times during the Great Expansion. Though I must say the paperwork was much simpler when we could just vaporize the bureaucrats." "Not helping," Zara muttered through clenched teeth. "What's not helping?" asked the closest doctor, a meridian with trembling feathers. "Not you. The ancient murder-happy weapon that's taken up residence in my nervous system is providing historical commentary." The doctor dropped his scanner and backed away so quickly he collided with a passing medical drone. "Ooh, points for distance on that retreat," Snark cackled, "though I once saw a Praxi diplomat achieve low orbit when my last wielder sneezed." The Vraxian historian, Professor K. Till, finally worked up the courage to approach. "See, Cadet K'vex, do you understand what you've bonded with? That's the Xy'klar crown jewel, the most advanced weapon ever created by the galaxy's most legendary warrior race. It was thought lost in the Great Cataclysm. Lost Xy'klar's eye stalks went rigid. It was secured in our most protected vault, which you, Cadet, were absolutely not authorized to enter." "Oh, please," Snark interjected, and this time everyone heard it as the patterns under Zara's skin began glowing blue. "Your most protected vault couldn't keep out a determined slime mold. No offense to your friend over there." Squishvorp, who had finally recovered from their faint and insisted on staying by Zara's side, rippled indignantly. "The weapon must be removed immediately," declared Security Chief Xvi, brandishing a containment field generator. "Good luck with that, Sunshine," Snark said cheerfully. "The bond is permanent. But hey, if you want to try, I've got some great footage of the last attempt. Anyone want to see what happened to the Xy'klar KX Empire? No? Their capital planet made such a lovely asteroid field." The security team took a collective step backward. "Look," Zara said, trying to be reasonable, "clearly this is a complex situation that requires careful consideration." "She's a threat to the entire academy," shouted one of the junior administrators, a Deathworlder with access to the galaxy's most dangerous weapon. "Most dangerous? You're making me blush. Though technically that honor belongs to the Star Crusher, but I heard that got tossed into a black hole. Shame, really. We used to get coffee together." The growing panic in the room reached new heights as a group of cadets passing by the medical bay's windows caught sight of Zara. Their screams could be heard through the supposedly soundproof glass as they fled. "New record for the 100-meter sprint," Zara noted dryly. Professor K. Till was practically bouncing with excitement. "This is amazing. The legends say the Xy'klar weapons chose wielders who embodied their warrior spirit. Cadet K'vex must have extraordinary potential." "Well, she did casually mention enjoying something called CrossFit," Snark added. "I've been reviewing her memories, and honestly, some of these Earth exercise routines would have impressed even our berserkers." "The paperwork for this is going to be astronomical," moaned Administrator Xy'klar, all eye stalks drooping in defeat. Sir Zara suggested maybe we could. Oh, Snark interrupted. Show them the memory of you eating those spicy things. The looks on their faces would be priceless. Not now, Snark. You're no fun. Hey, did I mention I can transform into approximately 3,427 different types of weapons? Want to see the one that makes small moons into slightly smaller moons? The medical bay erupted into chaos again. In the corner, Squish Vorp had started stress cleaning the floors, muttering something about finding simpler friends next time. Well, Zara sighed, watching another administrator faint. At least life won't be boring anymore. That's the spirit. Now, about those training exercises I mentioned. Right then, Zara announced to the empty training room. Let's start with something simple. Simple? Please? We're going straight to plasma edge manifestation. Now picture a blade of pure energy that could slice a battleship in half. 5 minutes later, maintenance droids were putting out small fires while Squish Vorp peeled themselves off the ceiling. Maybe we should start smaller, Zara suggested, examining the scorch marks on her uniform. Fine, Snark sighed. We'll begin with basic molecular rearrangement. Just focus on transforming me into a simple sword. Child's play, really. Even a Thoraxian infant could. The resulting transformation turned Snark into what could only be described as a pretzel made of light. Is this supposed to happen? Zara asked, trying to untangle the glowing strands. Well, that's creatively wrong. But points for originality. I haven't been this shape since that wild party during the Third Dynasty. Over the next few weeks, the training room became a testament to their progress. The walls bore witness to numerous learning experiences, as Snark optimistically called them. There was the time Zara accidentally created a miniature black hole quickly contained, the incident with the quantum multiplication they were still finding copies of Squish Vorp in odd places, and the memorable afternoon when she temporarily reversed gravity in half the station. Your form is improving, Squish Vorp encouraged, watching Zara practice with a shape-shifting energy blade. They had taken to wearing a small force field generator, which Zara considered a sensible precaution. The blob speaks truth, Snark agreed. You've only caused one reality distortion this week, much better than last week's average of 3 per day. Thanks. I think Zara moved through another kata, the weapon flowing seamlessly between forms, though I could do without the running commentary on my technique. Oh, you think I am bad? You should have heard the Fourth Emperor's weapon. Now that was a critic. Your stance is all wrong, that's not how you implode a star system, blah blah blah. The other cadets had taken to watching her practice sessions from behind reinforced observation windows. Their terror had gradually evolved into a sort of fascinated horror, especially after the day Zara mastered energy projection and accidentally wrote "Hello World" on the station's moon. Show them the ribbon dance formation, Squish Vorp suggested, having become surprisingly enthusiastic about the training once they stopped being accidentally teleported to random locations. Zara concentrated, and Snark transformed into flowing streams of energy that danced around her like auroras. The watching cadets gasped. Now add the plasma edges, Snark urged excitedly. Really give them something to write home about. Last time we did that, we cut a training drone in half. Exactly. It was perfect. Despite Snark's occasionally murderous suggestions, Zara's control grew steadily. The weapon's combat knowledge began to feel more natural, less like following instructions and more like remembering movements she'd always known. The intricate patterns under her skin, once alien, now felt like a part of her. Ready to try the multi-form combat sequence, she asked one morning. Born ready. Well, technically I was engineered ready, but who's counting? The resulting display would have made a ballet choreographer weep, assuming they appreciated ballet performed with various implements of destruction. Zara flowed through forms as Snark shifted between weapons, sword to staff to energy whip to configurations that defied conventional physics. That was actually beautiful, Squish Vorp commented, their mass rippling in appreciation. Thanks. I think I'm finally getting the hang of. Incoming. A stray energy pulse from an over-enthusiastic transformation shot toward Squish Vorp, who instantly split into 3 smaller blobs to dodge it. They were formed with a distinctly smug ripple. Show off, Zara laughed. Says the woman who just performed a 17-dimensional weapon kata, Snark countered. Though your quantum harmonics could use some work. Back in my day, we had to maintain perfect resonance while fighting in at least 5 parallel dimensions. Here we go again with the back in my day stories. I'm just saying you young wielders have it easy. We didn't have safety protocols or training rooms. We practiced by invading small solar systems. And how did that work out for your civilization? ... Point taken. But you have to admit, we had style. The observation room was now regularly packed during their training sessions. Some cadets had even started a betting pool on what would get accidentally destroyed each day. Same time tomorrow, Squishvorp asked, casually absorbing the scorch marks from the floor. Wouldn't miss it, Zara grinned. Though maybe we should work on something less explosive. Absolutely not, Snark declared. Tomorrow we learn about antimatter manipulation. That wasn't a request. Too late. Already scheduled. I've penciled in potentially dangerous antimatter experiments right between breakfast and terrifying the physics department. Squishvorp sighed and made a mental note to reinforce their force field. The attack came during afternoon lectures. Because of course it did. Zara had just started to doze off during advanced xenopolitical theory when the station's alarms began screaming. This is not a drill. Station breached by hostile forces. All cadets proceed to secure locations. Finally, Snark practically sang in Zara's head. I was beginning to think we'd never get to test our training in actual combat. You sound way too happy about this, Zara muttered, watching her classmates dissolve into panic. Professor Xy'klar had already initiated emergency protocols, which mainly seemed to involve hiding under his desk and trembling. Pirate, someone shrieked. The Crimson Void Brotherhood. Oh, those wannabes, Snark scoffed. Back in my day, pirates had style. These guys probably don't even have a proper doomsday device. The classroom door exploded inward, revealing a squad of heavily armed figures. Their leader, a massive Chronaxian with more cybernetics than original parts, surveyed the room with glowing red eyes. Nobody move, he growled. The Brotherhood claims this station and all its... What's this? A classroom full of baby officers, he laughed, the sound like grinding metal. This'll be easier than we thought. Did he just call us babies? Snark asked, outraged. Please tell me we can kill him. Pretty please. I'll be extra dramatic about it. Zara stood up slowly, noting how the pirates' weapons tracked her movement. You really don't want to do this. Oh, the leader grinned, showing metal-plated teeth. And why's that, tiny human? Tiny? Oh, that's it. Transformation sequence Gamma 9 now. Zara didn't argue. The patterns under her skin blazed to life as Snark's energy flowed outward, forming a suit of armor that made the pirate's gear look like children's toys. The leader's cybernetic eyes widened as readings probably started screaming warnings at him. Because Zara said, her voice echoing slightly through Snark's energy field, I've had a really boring week, and my weapon has anger management issues. I do not have issues, Snark protested. I have carefully cultivated preferences for excessive violence. The first pirate to open fire immediately regretted it. His plasma bolts were caught in a swirling vortex of energy and casually tossed back at him, reducing his expensive armor to slag. He had time for one surprisingly high-pitched scream before Zara was among them. Watch your left, Snark called cheerfully as they spun through the pirates' formation. And remember what we practiced: quantum displacement followed by localized gravity manipulation. I know how to fight, Zara grunted, using a move that sent 3 pirates flying through a conveniently open pocket dimension. They reappeared a moment later, frozen in terror and missing their weapons. Yes, but you're not doing it with proper style. The Xy'klar were all about dramatic flair. Oh, speaking of which, incoming heavy weapons. The leader had recovered from his shock and pulled out what looked like a portable mass driver. The weapon hummed hoarsely as it charged. Please tell me he's going to monologue, Snark said hopefully. I love it when they monologue. You think you're special, little human, the leader snarled. This weapon can punch through battleship armor. Yes, classic villain dialogue. 10 out of 10. Now, shall we show him what real weaponry looks like? Zara grinned as Snark's energy reshaped itself around her arms. With pleasure. The resulting light show would later be described by witnesses as technically impossible, aesthetically terrifying, and surprisingly colorful for an implementation of experimental physics. The mass driver's blast met a convergence of energy fields that made several nearby quantum physicists wake up screaming for weeks afterward. You missed a spot, Snark commented as they disabled another group of pirates. There's still one hiding behind the professor's desk. I know, Zara replied, casually generating a containment field around a pirate trying to use a teleporter. I'm saving him for last. Ooh, building suspense. I've taught you so well. The leader, now significantly less cybernetic and more panicked, tried to rally his remaining forces. She's just one cadet. Rush her. Did this idiot seriously just use the quantity over quality strategy against us? Snark asked incredulously. That's it. Show them the star splitter configuration. We are not splitting any stars inside the station. Fine, fine. The regular planet cracker will do. The fight ended approximately 30 seconds later. The surviving pirates were found huddled in a corner, begging to be arrested by station security. Their leader was discovered hanging by his remaining cybernetic parts from the classroom ceiling, softly whimpering about retirement. As security forces finally arrived, Zara noticed her classmates staring at her with a new expression, something between awe and please don't notice I exist. Not bad for a first real fight, Snark admitted. Though you could have used more explosions. I think we used exactly the right amount of explosions, Zara replied, looking around at the surprisingly intact classroom. Well, mostly intact. There was that new skylight she'd accidentally created. From under a nearby desk, Squish Vorp emerged, their purple masks somehow looking both impressed and exasperated. I recorded the whole thing they announced. For training purposes, of course. For training purposes, Snark repeated innocently. Nothing to do with the betting pool about how many pirates we could throw through dimensional portals in under a minute. Speaking of which, Squish Vorp rippled smugly. I believe several people owe me credits. The Academy's main hall had never been so quiet during an official assembly. Then again, it had never hosted a medal ceremony quite like this one. In recognition of extraordinary valor in defense of the Academy, Chief Administrator Xy'klar paused, all 7 eye stalks twitching nervously as he read from the datapad. We hereby. Oh, stars above, is this really necessary? Keep reading, Snark projected loudly enough for everyone to hear. I especially like the part about unprecedented combat prowess. The administrator's eye stalks drooped in defeat. We hereby grant Cadet Zara K'vex the rank of elite specialist, with all associated privileges and responsibilities. And Snark prompted. And Xy'klar looked physically pained. Official recognition as the Xy'klar weapons chosen. First of her kind in 12,000 years. The assembled cadets broke into applause, somewhat hesitant applause, but applause nonetheless. Squish Vorp, sporting a few scorch marks from their heroic recording efforts during the battle, bounced enthusiastically in the front row. Furthermore, the administrator continued, looking like he'd rather be anywhere else, we acknowledge that any previous concerns about security risks are hereby superseded by demonstrated loyalty and service. He means they're terrified of us but can't do anything about it, Snark translated happily. I haven't seen bureaucrats this uncomfortable since that time we accidentally violated 17 different peace treaties in one afternoon. Zara whispered. Let them finish pretending they have a choice in this. Professor K. Till, the Vraxian historian, had been practically vibrating with excitement throughout the ceremony. He finally burst out, the prophecies were true. The return of the Xy'klar warrior spirit. This is the greatest day in archaeological history. Yes, Xy'klar cut him off hurriedly. Moving on to the, practical matters, he gestured to a group of engineers who were finishing repairs to the battle damage. The Academy Board has approved a special training facility for your unique requirements. They mean they're tired of us accidentally opening dimensional rifts in the regular gym, Snark commented. In their defense, Zara muttered, that last one did take 3 days to close. Details. Besides, that quantum physicist said he'd always wanted to see what the 11th dimension looked like. The ceremony continued with various officials taking turns presenting commendations while trying not to make direct eye contact with either Zara or the glowing patterns under her skin. The change in the Academy's atmosphere was palpable, where before there had been fear and avoidance, now there was a mix of respect, awe, and slightly more sophisticated fear. Your combat recording has been viewed over 7 million times on the Galactic Net, Squish Vorp informed her proudly after the ceremony. The scene where you caught that antimatter torpedo and juggled it, already a classic. Though they cut out the best part, Snark grumbled. Right before we sent it back through that pirate's own dimensional drive. The look on his face was priceless. A group of junior cadets nervously approached, led by a Meridian who seemed to have drawn the short straw. Elite Specialist K'vex, he squeaked, we were wondering if you might. That is, could you teach us some basic self-defense techniques? Oh, this is precious, Snark cooed. Can we show them the plasma blade kata? Pretty please. Maybe we start with something less likely to vaporize the training room, Zara suggested diplomatically. But yes, I'd be happy to teach you. The cadet's excitement was almost enough to overshadow their instinctive flinching when she smiled. Later, watching the station's maintenance crews installing reinforced walls in her new training facility, Zara felt a strange sense of satisfaction. You know, she said to Squish Vorp, I think this might actually work out. Indeed, her friend agreed, carefully maintaining their personal force field. Though perhaps we should discuss your definition of acceptable collateral damage. Oh please, Snark interjected. If you're not occasionally rewriting local physics, are you even trying? See, Zara grinned. We're making progress. Snark hasn't suggested blowing up any moons in at least 3 hours. Actually, about that. No, but it's such a small moon. Graduation day dawned with the kind of pomp and circumstance that only bureaucrats with unlimited budgets could achieve. The ceremony was being broadcast across 17 systems, partly because of its historic significance, but mostly because no one wanted to miss potential footage of something exploding. Zara stood at attention in her new ceremonial armor, which Snark had insisted on designing himself. The result was somehow both elegant and terrifying, with flowing lines of energy that occasionally formed themselves into ancient Xy'klar battle poems. Are you crying? Snark asked as she received her final credentials. Absolutely not. And if you tell anyone about that quantum disturbance in my tear ducts, I'll let Squish Vorpleen you with their new sonic polisher. Your secret's safe with me, oh mighty weapons chosen, though I still say we should have gone with my suggested title, Supreme Harbinger of Entertaining Destruction. That wouldn't even fit on the name badge. From the audience, Squish Vorp watched proudly as their friend accepted her commission. They had prepared a special graduation gift, a custom-made force field generator for Zara's first command posting. The card attached read, for when Snark gets ideas about improving the ship's weapons systems. As the ceremony concluded, Chief Administrator Xy'klar managed one last trembling speech, and so we send forth our graduates, particularly our unique elite specialists, to defend the Federation and uphold its values. He means please don't break the galaxy, Snark translated. Don't worry, Zara murmured, watching the stars through the station's viewport. We'll only break the parts that need breaking. That's my girl. Now about that cute little solar system that's been harboring space pirates. Already got the coordinates, Squish Vorp burbled smugly, their mass rippling with satisfaction. I took the liberty of filing the paperwork for training exercises in that sector. All perfectly legal. Zara and Snark fell silent for a moment. Did we just get out sneaked by a blob? Snark finally asked. Yes, Zara grinned. Yes, we did. And somewhere in the vast expanse of space, pirates were about to learn why you should always be polite to Deathworlders, especially ones with sarcastic ancient weapons and surprisingly devious friends.